Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Shero Spotlight. I'm so excited to have this friend and co-creator today on the show. She's super talented, and I know you're going to enjoy what she has to say today. She's got some exciting things happening in her life, but let me tell you a little bit about her. She's been inspired by some really great artists, Linda Ronstadt, who I love too, and Billy Joel. And that doesn't surprise me because she is from New York. And she's received critical acclaim for her clarion voice by the Associated Press and music that's intended to stand and last. And when you go hear her music, you're going to really agree with that statement. She's a powerhouse. Her vocal style has opened doors to support artists like the Gin Blossoms. She's shared the New York stage with Cyndi Lauper, and she sung the national anthem for her hometown, New York Knicks. She doesn't know how many basketball games I went to with the Cleveland Cavaliers facing off the New York Knicks. But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. And so she's now had multiple songs released. Her debut release was Cry Like a Girl. It was featured on Spotify's New Music Nashville playlist. She recently signed a recording deal with Reviver Music in Nashville. And now she's writing for this new album with many of Music Row's hit makers. And she's recently attracted interest in her songs by other major label signed artists. Please welcome to the show, Brooke Moriber.
Hello.
Hey, Brooke, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really glad to see you and glad that I got to see Sherlock, your rabbit, there for a second. I know
We'll have to let him come in for a cameo at the end at some point.
Yeah, he's going to have to get in on the scene because he's a star. So some of these things I know about you and some of these I don't. And this first question, I really don't know the answer to. When did you first realize that you wanted to pursue writing songs in Nashville?
Well, as you know, I'm born and raised and very proud of it, native New Yorker.
Yeah.
But my sound has always leaned towards country for whatever reason. So my manager at the time just kind of suggested, I think we should get you out to Nashville. Let me set up some co-writes and some meetings and let's see how things go. I'd never been to Nashville before. Yeah. So I fly out. Next morning, I get into a writing session that my manager had set up with his friend, Brian DeVoe. And Brian brought in a friend of his into the session. So we would be 3 writers together. And that friend happened to have been Bill DeLuigi.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember this a little bit now.
Yeah. So that writing session was long and exactly what I've always wanted a writing session to be, where the focus is so much on the craft and getting that one lyric right, where you can just spend hours and hours just trying to get that one lyric right. And I really hadn't experienced that much perfectionism as that before, and that's exactly the moment where I was like, this is where I want to make my music, this is home. So Nashville's become my second home. I spend like 40% of my year out there now.
Yeah, I know. Well, we've had some great times writing together, and it's always a lot of fun because I always feel like we're all so focused, and my writing experiences with you has been with Bill D, and Bill D and I write a lot of songs together, and it's always fun. Well, what kind of country music is the most compelling to you? When you think about country songs that really hit you on a impacting level, which ones are they?
I mean, it's a wide range, but as you know from our writing sessions together, my ear tends to go towards that kind of progressive pop country sound that a lot of the female artists are doing right now, like Ingrid Andress and Daniel Bradbury and people like that. So I think that's what I love about country music is the storytelling and just that dedication to the craft and making sure that the song is just really, really good. Right. And what I love the female artists are doing right now is they're making it accessible to a bigger audience. And I think they've kind of been forced into doing that because it is, women have to be a little bit more experimental than men do in country right now. And I'm really liking this combination of the pop meets the country vibe. So I know some people hate it, but I definitely gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing too is that I think women have always been progressive in country music. I mean, surely one of my favorites is Loretta Lynn. And,
Oh, yeah.
she was one of the most progressive with, these real out of the box ideas and really singing about stuff that was very real, and real to her own life. So we have a lot of really good inspiration. I know you talked about Ronstadt being one of your inspirations. What's another female artist that's really inspiring to you? Maybe somebody new or somebody old, and why?
Gosh, I hate to be repetitive, but Ingrid Andress is one of them, for sure. I just, all the women out there lately have been really inspiring to me. It's been interesting because as I've been working with Reviver, we've been trying to find what's my lane in country music, because I'm not super duper country because I'm from New York City. I'm never going to be able to do, the whole, like Miranda Lambert kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so I've been doing a lot of homework and listening, and I've just been really, really inspired by Ingrid. I just think every single song that she writes is a hit. It's kind of annoying, but it's such ear candy, and I just think she's great. So she's my recent girl crush.
Well, the one that I love so much is Brandy Clark.
I love Brandy Clark.
Her writing and her songs they really resonate for me in the sense of how she puts them together and her humor. Because I always like humor in songs. I think it's fun, when it's a little bit tongue in cheek sometimes. So she's somebody that when I first heard her music, I was hearing her music and not even knowing it until I went to start to dig, because I always love to see who's writing, what songs I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard to find that. I'll hear a song on the radio a lot and, or on Spotify, and I just kind of like, God, who wrote that with that? I don't know if the artist wrote it or somebody wrote it. They wrote it together with somebody, and it's very buried. I wish they would.
I know they would elevate the information. Well, and sometimes too, like if you search track listing, that's when you can find it. I've tried to do that sometimes, like, who wrote what's the track listing on so-and-so's record, and it seems like you can find it more easily. But it's like, you're probably like this. I hear something that I really love, and it's like, I want to hear who wrote this right now. I got to know this right now.
That's what I do. That's exactly what I do.
It's really funny. It's like it's got to be instant satisfaction to me, because I'm a writer and you are too. And, we're interested to hear who's thinking what,
Exactly.
I love that. So what is different for you about singing country music that you've written from music that you maybe performed in the past? Because, I was just going to mention this.
Yeah.
I used to always have people tell me that I sounded like a country singer. I never thought I did, but now I see why people said that to me years ago.
Interesting. We have like a similar, me too.
Yeah, and I'm from the North too,
That's
but
right.
I couldn't understand why people ever said that. What are you talking about? Because I was always thinking about country music like real twangy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got, there's a 1 to 10 on the spectrum of, twang, and, it's just like a little, especially as a New Yorker, everybody was always like, oh my God, you're so country, you should go to Nashville. And when I go to Nashville, they're like, that's not country.
Right.
But it's interesting. I've been having a lot of fun with Reviver, just developing what my country sound is. And I think we got it and we figured it out. And I'm so excited to get that music out because it's very much me. And it definitely fits in the country lane, and it feels authentic. And not off the question though. What was the question?
Well, the question that I asked you, you talked about a little bit. What's different for you about singing country than, country music you've written, than music you used to perform, or that how were you searching? Did you feel you were searching for yourself in other music, maybe?
Well, I did dabble in like the dance pop world for a while, so that's, I guess, why my ear tends to go towards pop music a lot. But mainly the difference for me is I did start out as a Broadway performer because I live in New York City. I studied dance and acting, and so I made a nice home for myself in the musical theater community there for a while, and I always wanted to be able to focus on a recording career, but kind of can't dance at 2 weddings. So, a couple of years ago, I just said, I'm not doing it anymore. I have to focus on my music, or I'll never be able to do it. So, so the difference, the thing that I've had to adjust to is that when you're performing music on a Broadway stage, you are playing a character, and you are completely separate from the audience. You are not supposed to even look at them, imagine that nobody's there, and you're
Right.
just on somebody else.
The fourth wall.
The fourth, yeah, and if you break the wall, it has to be a very purposeful reason, and like some comedic reason in theater.
Right.
If you ever do that, but you never break the wall, and you don't connect with the audience, and you are playing someone other than yourself, which is awesome. And what I had to adjust to was another kind of awesome, which is where when I perform on stage and I'm doing my own music, I have to be so true to myself and bare my soul to the audience. I cannot hide behind a character. You're just naked up there, and you want to connect with the audience. You don't want to disconnect. So, the idea of being accepted and loved for who you really are as an artist has helped me as a human being kind of just figure out who I am.
Yeah.
So the whole process of it has been very strangely spiritual for me, and I just love singing a song that I'm performing and that I've written, and seeing someone else in the audience connect with me, and oh my God, like you get what I went through when I wrote this, and that kind of connection is like there's no bigger high.
Yeah. So I know what you mean by that, because I spent a lot of time in musical theater, and I always loved that. I mean, even though you couldn't respond to it like you can when you're on stage singing your own music, you could hear the response of the audience. And I always liked that so much better than any kind of acting I did in film or TV. I don't know. And, you know me, we're both, and I know you, we're both kind of type A people. Yeah. And so, we're the kind of people that would dig that instant thing, But I think
TV and film acting.
Yeah, I did some, and I had a kids television show that was on for a couple of years called Kirsti's Manna. It was on a cable network, and I did all these different characters. I always say it was like a Tracy Ullman show for kids. So that was a lot of fun. But I was controlling those shoots more. Right. It wasn't like I was waiting on other actors to come and do the scenes. That kind of thing. It was different.
Right.
But anyway, I always love to ask my guests this question. Tell me your stay inspired story. This could be a story of something that happened to you. Could be any time in your life. Doesn't even have to be about music, but just something that really stuck with you.
So my stay inspired story is a little bit dark. When I was 16, I lost my eyesight for 4 years.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I woke up one morning and walked towards the bathroom mirror, and I kept doing this. I was like, what's on I can't see my face. What's happening? So I was diagnosed with this eye disease that used to be the leading cause of blindness, and the way that they treat it is with chemotherapy and high doses of steroids. So I was on a ton of medications for 4 years. And
wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's everyone's got their stuff, so this
wow.
is mine. So I, the reason why I say this is my stay inspired story is because the disease went into remission. I got to the point where I was just so sick of being sick that I got all these books on tape because I couldn't read because I couldn't see. So I was listening, and it was all of these stories about people who had healed themselves from cancer and, other diseases where the body is attacking itself, because that's what was happening. My body was attacking my eyes. And eventually, after months of doing that and meditating, I'd gone to the eye doctors and told them to tell me exactly what's going on in my eyes. I want to visualize it. I want to so I was like, close my eyes, meditate, try to kill what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I also got to a point where I realized that I had given this to myself and I needed it at the moment, and I don't need it anymore. I don't want to be the victim anymore. I'm done with it. And I don't mean to sound too, what's the word? Gosh, I can't come up with it now, but just like, oh my gosh, oh, this miraculous thing happened or whatever. But I do believe in the power of the mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that we're all predisposed to certain diseases or whatnot. And there's a lot of power that we have. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "What? I don't understand. You're in remission. What happened?" And I still couldn't see when it went into remission because it left me with these horrible cataracts.
Oh my gosh.
And they removed the cataracts, and I will never forget the day that they took the bandages off. And I can finally tell the story without crying, but the feeling of what it was like to see things for the first time was, I just remember I was in a taxi cab coming home with my mom with the window rolled down, and I was sticking my head out of it like a dog, and I was like, oh my God, the leaves on the trees, like the definition, like that. So I look at everything now, like there isn't a day that I wake up where I'm like, it's just so cool to be able to see everything that's around. So I mean, that's my Stay Inspired story, because it just shows how powerful we are and how we can give ourselves things that we need at the time, and we can let it go. And it was a curse, felt like a curse at the time, but it feels like a blessing now, because I don't take anything for granted anymore. I don't, whether sight or being able to hear, or just, there are people who don't have, they can't walk, or they can't see, or they can't. I'm never not counting my blessings.
That's amazing story. I'm completely surprised. I didn't know this about you, and that's a lot to have lived with all that time. Whether you gave it to yourself or not, you were still living through all that, and it just makes me think you're even stronger than I thought you were.
Thank you. I don't know if you've ever noticed that when we're in a room together and there's a window, I will try to sit in front of the window, so the window's behind me, because from the scar tissue I have left in my eyes, if anybody is standing in front of light, I can't see them.
Oh yeah.
So if you've ever seen me do that dance with you, that's why.
Okay, I'll never make you sit in front of a window again.
Well, I'll sit in front, the window be behind, and then I can see them.
Yeah, as long as it's behind you.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're fine now. That's amazing. And thanks for
with correction, I have 20/30 vision, which is pretty.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing that, because I know people that are listening. I have another friend who was a guest, and she has an eye condition where she went blind, and she decided she wanted to paint, and she started painting, and her eyesight comes and goes somewhat, but she decided to paint. She was painting all these amazing paintings, and she couldn't see.
Wow.
So it's just amazing, the power and the strength that people possess. I think that's so great.
That's so interesting, because I was painting before that happened. I was doing like an advanced, like I've always been like, painting's been my thing, and then I couldn't see, so I couldn't paint, but I was doing things without seeing. I would love to talk to your friend.
You need, her name's Chelsea Tucker. You need to look her up.
Text me her.
I will give you her information, because she's an incredible girl, and I actually met her at a church I went to, and I was one of the youth leaders, and we became good friends. I mean, I've known her since she's 15 years old. So I've known her for a really long time. She's an amazing human being.
Very cool.
So I want to know what you think about this too. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges for, I'm going to say, a female artist or performer today, other than the pandemic?
There's so many, but
the list is long.
The list is very, very long. I mean, I think the one which is the most obvious that we all know is that men get more radio play than women do. It's 90% on the radio. It's getting a little bit better, which is nice. I think it's starting to shift, but it's just making us so much better, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the quality music that the women in country are putting out right now, and it's just flabbergastingly amazing, because we have to do really
well. And I think too, I'm going to say this, and the men listening will, she's crazy, but I think too, it's more authentic from the core. It's not like women are just choosing songs that, if they're cutting something that's outside of what they write, they're not just choosing songs that, they think this is what somebody wants to hear. It's really authentic. And I think because women, have a little bit more of a climb and a little bit more of a hardship getting on the charts so much, they're really digging,
Yeah.
really digging on what's inside.
That's true. And when like Reviver has also been pitching songs to me, they know that I mostly want to sing my own songs that I've written. But if there is a
Right.
song, you're like, oh my God, I connect with that, and I think that's a hit. You don't not do it just because you didn't have your name as one of the writers. So one of the songs I did end up taking, and that's how I felt. I was like, this is very authentic to who I am, and I think other women out there want to hear this message. So I want to sing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's a great talent to picking songs you didn't write, because there have been some great country female artists through the years that have picked songs that they didn't write, and they were hits. And so I think that's a talent, because you were, like you're saying, you really have to know who you are. I mean, look at Miranda Lambert with The House That Built Me.
Oh,
That
God,
that
that's
song was
my
around
favorite
forever.
song of hers.
That's one of those songs, the first time you heard it, you thought you're going to wreck your car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's one of those songs where you're like, God, why didn't I write that?
I know. Well, because we think about that kind of a thing, but just the way it was put was so unique and beautiful. I loved it. So what artist would you like to tour with, and why?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be repetitive again. Ingrid.
Uh-huh.
She is kind of my go-to role model at the moment. I'd love to perform and tour with Keith Urban, just because he's got such an incredible energy. I just think
Oh, yeah.
fun. Also, the song that I got submitted that I picked was actually a hand-me-down of his. He was like interested in it and then turned it down.
Oh, well, there's your connection to Keith.
So maybe we could duet it.
Yeah, 6 degrees of separation to Keith.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
I just love to tour with anyone. I'm a huge fan of Chris Stapleton. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to tour with him. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
If Linda Ronstadt was still touring, she'd be my number one.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. I wrote a song actually with Judy Pastor called She Doesn't Sing Anymore. I got inspired with this title when I was watching that documentary about Linda Ronstadt that was out about 6 months ago. And I'll have to let you hear it sometime. But Linda Ronstadt really impacted me as a youth. Just, the way she presented herself, like as an artist, and she was so different. I mean, there was nobody singing like that. Mm-mm. Just an amazing voice. And I really, she was somebody, you want to emulate. There were other people, but she was somebody because she just was so gutsy in her singing. And I really loved that about her.
Me too. The tone, that tone, the combination of the power, the vocal range, the emotionality, and then you top it off with this tone that has just never been heard before.
Yeah, and that range. It's like there's no break.
No.
She just can go anywhere,
Yep.
And then she got into the thing where she was doing opera and and she wasn't studying that. It's amazing. Kind of like a Pat Benatar, kind of has that kind of a ring to her voice. You do too. Your voice is.
They're both of my idols. I appreciate that. That's very sweet and generous of you.
Well, your voice is beautiful, and you can tell that you take care of your voice too, and that's something that I think young girls need to hear. To really care for their voice and not abuse it. Because there's so many ways to abuse your voice, like talking on the phone and yelling at your mother. No kidding. Anyway.
It's true. It's a muscle. You have to keep it warm and trained.
Yeah, it's true. Well, we're almost out of time. I always love to ask my guests, what is your power word?
So my power word is a little more of a phrase, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's cheesy, but I always tell myself, do like Nike. The Nike commercials.
Just do it.
So when I'm being lazy or when I'm procrastinating or I'm like, don't feel confident enough to go for something or ask someone for something or to listen to my song, I just say, do like Nike.
That's good. I love that. That's really cute. Well, please finish the sentence for me. The number one thing I'm grateful for today is...
The number one thing I'm grateful for today is the fact that I had a lot of close calls this summer with people that I love, as far as like health-wise, and everything turned out fine. But it was a nice wake-up call to me because I've been very, very wrapped up in career, and that being the thing that counts. That's the one thing. And it's just, I'm thankful to the universe for reminding me that none of this matters if you don't have people around you that you love to share it with. So that's what I'm grateful for today.
That's really nice. So where can listeners find you online or find your music? I know you've got something out new that's on Spotify.
Yeah, I just released something today that actually is a independent of Reviver. It was just kind of a home studio recording. It's called Better Days. It just came out today. And you can find me on all platforms just under my name, Brooke Moriber. That's BROOKEMORIBER. So all the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Apple, you can just find me there. And the Reviver stuff will be coming out probably in a few months. So.
Oh, exciting. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. Well, I'm so glad that you had time to hang out today, Brooke, and it's always great to see you. I miss seeing you in person, but I hope we see each other soon. I know we will.
Yes.
And give Sherlock a pet for me. You're beautiful.
Oh yes. By the way, for anyone who wants to follow me on Instagram, if it's any incentive, I have the cutest animal that's ever walked the earth. That's about 50% of my feed. His name is Sherlock. He is a floppy-eared Holland Blot bunny rabbit who is like a dog. He's litter trained. He's free range. So you should at least check Sherlock out.
Well, I always have something to say. My pet name for Sherlock is Bunny Cakes. I just think he's so adorable. I love him. Well, I love you, and thanks for being here.
Good for the kitties for me.
I will. And good luck with everything. And can't wait to see you again soon.
Mwah.
Love you.
Love you back.
Everybody stick around. We're going to be right back.